I am essentially giving you a very real guide to building a brand that you can build over the years. People are like, oh, you can't really be friends with your team as the founders. We actually very much disagree with that. You just have to find a way to enjoy your life through the chaos of building a business. Why else are you doing it if you're not going to enjoy the journey? Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dream Bigger podcast. So today I'm actually really excited about this solo because I am essentially giving you a very real guide to building a brand that you can build over the years. What I mean by that is something that stands the test of time, that you're able to build sustainably. And I have this conversation a lot with other entrepreneurs or people who are looking to start a brand, and they're like, well, how's Array so successful? Or how are you able to kind of build Array, which is obviously a very fast growing brand, while also looking like you're really enjoying your life? And so I wanted to take you through kind of the framework that you should have if you are either deciding to start a brand or maybe you're in the early stages. Because my thing for Array, like both Nish and I, was that we never wanted to build a brand just to sell it. Okay. A lot of founders do this where, their goal is to quickly build a brand and then sell it and, cash out. And by the way, if that's you, then good for you, but it's just not my philosophy. I instead really wanted to build something that I had the option of continuing to build for as long as I wanted to and do something that makes me really happy along the way. So my goal for building Array wasn't that, I'm going to build this really quickly and sell it and then I'm going to be happy. Rather, it was, I want to wake up in the morning and work on something that brings me joy every single day because I love the process of building. And I think that honestly speaking, that is also why Array has done so well. Like, of course, we have all the technical things and, the day-to-day things that are lined up. So we're super organized and we have systems, but from a kind of macro esoterical perspective as well, I think that intention and that, I guess that intentionality behind the why is what's really important and I think what's allowed this to grow. So I'll just start right there, which is identify your why, okay? So there's a lot of people when I ask this question, like, why do you really want to start a business? And the answer is, I just don't want to work for someone else. Honestly, guys, this is simply not good enough because fact of the matter is that you will never work harder in any job than you do as an entrepreneur. You have to be self-motivated. You have to wake up every single day with kind of the self-motivation to work so freaking hard and, just even through very, very challenging times, like have that motivation from within to work really, really hard. And so, I don't want to work for someone else. That's just not a reason enough. It's just entrepreneurship is really not for the faint of heart. And I believe that reason, your why, also can't just be money. Okay. So money, I think, is a product of your effort. It's a product of what you put your heart and soul into. It can't be like the reason why you're doing something, or at least I don't think so. And I think also because the beginning stages of a business, guys, there is no money. Okay, there's no money. There wasn't any money for us for years. We paid everyone in the business. Nish and I took no salaries until last year. Think about that. We didn't start taking money from the business until 3.5 years into the business. Okay. So as a founder, you are the one who makes the most monetary sacrifice. So imagine if money is your only driver. What are you going to do when the business is going through a hard time? Like, what are you going to do? It's not going to light you up anymore because your primary motivation is money. Of course, there's nothing wrong with wanting to build wealth. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I don't care about that stuff. I do. But at the end of the day, money was never my sole motivator for wanting to build the business. My motivator was that I wanted to make an impact in people's lives. And a lot of really successful founders that I know are motivated by that same intrinsic why. It's like, oh, I wanted to solve a problem for myself. I saw a problem that really needed to be solved. Like, I wanted to help people in XYZ way. Like, I saw a gap that I really thought that I could be the one to fill. Even something as simple, or not even simple, it's actually quite complex, as giving other people the workplace that they wish they could have worked at, right? So understand what your why is and what your core values are, because that is what will keep you going on a day-to-day basis when things get tough. And I think it'll just allow you to really enjoy the journey as well, because you're working towards something. You're waking up every day with purpose. So that is step number 1, and that really is the foundation to building a business. You have to be clear on your why. Now, from a tactical perspective, I would say that you have to focus on a good product versus good marketing. Of course, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, you need both. But what I mean is, you can't just rely on good marketing to build a business, okay? Good product is really the backbone of a business, and that is what will allow your business to stand the test of time, okay? So people don't really come back for a bad product, even if you have the best marketing in the game. So say you've like gotten this customer, but your product is shit, they're never going to come back. And fact of the matter is, the business's success is really built on retention, as in who's coming back to your business over and over and over again. And so one thing that I would advise you to do is don't just hop on a trend because everyone else is doing that, because there's no sustainability there. And all you'll be doing is, trying to grow so quickly to keep up with the trend and then sell the business because deep down in your heart that maybe this is just a trend. Of course, if you see that there's a trend and you can iterate on it, or you bring something like new and exciting to the table, then absolutely go and do that. What I mean is, you see a fleeting trend and you're like, oh, let me hop on that because it just seems lucrative. No, don't do that, because that is just not the right way to approach building a business. Like, you need to have a product that's actually freaking fantastic, because honestly, guys, I'm telling you, good marketing will only take you so far. And you can't build a business on a hype around a trend, if that makes sense, or at least not a sustainable business. All you'll do is have to build something really quickly and then hopefully sell it to the highest bidder as quickly as you can before that trend dies. I don't want to work under that pressure personally. Again, as I said, my philosophy for building a business is I love the act of building this business. I love the act of building a business in general. So I don't just want to be under pressure to sell it because I'm doing something shady. Okay. So number 3 is, and this is again like a tactical thing, okay? So I would say that you need to know what you're good at and fill in the gaps. So I'm someone who has like a lot of vision and ideas. So when it comes to predicting what product I think the world needs, that is something that often comes from me. Of course, that's triangulated by all the research that we do and speaking to our customers and all of those things. But at the end of the day, I have a lot of ideas and I'm able to work my ass off and execute on them. But when it comes to the systems and design of the business and like how things are structured, that's also Nish's strong suit. So I feel like Nish and I really fill in each other's gaps because, I would argue, or I mean, I think we both know, Nish and I, that he's very structured. He's very he's an engineer, right? And so I'm so lucky to have that in a co-founder. But what I fill in for him is that I'm able to kind of have these ideas and like have this vision and how to speak to people. And I have all of those ideas. And so the two of us make for a really, really good partnership for that reason. And what's interesting is, over time, Nish and I have done a ton of work also on our individual energy types and how that relates to us as entrepreneurs. And our energy types, we have one in common, but the other 2 are actually quite different. And it's funny because they also work so well together. And so what I think is really interesting is, oftentimes we are told that we are supposed to be one way, right? And I think we're just like indoctrinated to think that that's the only way to do things. And this is just a reminder that when you dig deep, you will know what you're good at. And so it's really important for you to get honest about what you're good at and fill in the gaps accordingly when it comes to your team. So this being said, I also want you to realize that there's a difference between being honest and knowing what you're good at and leaning into those things as the company gets bigger versus being lazy and thinking that you're above certain things. Like when Array was just starting out and it was Nish and I don't care what I was good or bad at. Like, I would be doing anything and everything that the company required me to do. That meant like mopping the floors if I had to, truthfully, and, doing the packaging ourselves, which you guys already know. I've talked about this loads, but we literally did every single job. So even if like at the beginning stages, you are kind of, that's just how things are, right? Like you're just doing every job as an entrepreneur. But I think over time, as the business gets bigger, be really honest about what you're good at so you can lean into those things versus trying to get better at the things that you're really bad at, which, by the way, you can do in your free time. But it's so much like the business will grow a lot faster and get a lot bigger if you can pour all your energy into being the best in the world at the thing that you're already good at, so you already have an unfair advantage, and then fill in the gaps. So like that's extremely important. And then from the hiring perspective as well, make sure at the beginning that you're hiring generalists before specialists, and then over time you then start to fill in the gaps with specialists in things as well. So I've given this example before, but our first hire was someone who specialized in medicine, but she was a really good generalist. So when we brought her into the company, she was really doing everything. She was doing ops, she was helping with product dev, she helped me with social media at one point. Now she's doing just product dev because that is obviously like where we had wanted to put her, but she was a really good generalist. So we always filled in the gaps when it came to hiring. Number one, like hiring people who are good at certain things that we were bad at. And then, of course, like at the beginning, making sure that you're hiring generalists versus specialists, and then you bring in specialists down the line. Okay, moving on. Actually, since we're already on this topic of team and hiring, I'm going to go into team, okay? Because I think something that people always ask us, okay, like, oh, like, how is your team so strong? Like you guys just have a really special team. And honestly speaking, you guys, it is the thing that I am so proud of for us as a company. I absolutely love our team. I think our team is the backbone of who we are. I can't sit here and be like, oh, Array is because of Nish and I. No, Array is actually a full team effort. And, our team is what's allowed us to be here. And it's built on every single person on this team, you guys, is such a hard worker and so incredibly intelligent. It's insane. Everyone works at Array the same way that Nish and I do. It's just everyone takes ownership of it like it's theirs because it is, because every single person knows that they play such an important role in the company. Beyond just the hardworking and intelligence piece, though, I would say that one of the core kind of facets of what makes us us is that every single person on the team has the qualities of like respect for each other and trust in each other. Okay. So as an example, what I really cannot stand, and we would never have someone like this on the team, is say someone on the team makes a mistake, for another person to make like snide remarks or blame it on someone else. It's none of that in our team. It's really like this, it's like a family, right? And what I mean by that is if you're close to your family and, they make a little mistake, you're not going to then make them feel worse about it. What do? You figure out a solution as a team and you keep going, right? And so that's kind of how we work, where if someone has stumbled or someone has made a mistake inadvertently, we don't pile on them and make them feel worse. We already know that they are aware that they've made a mistake and that they feel bad about it. And so our goal as a team is, okay, we get that this happened, no problem. How do we move on as a team? And fact of the matter is we're all human. I've made a mistake and I'm the freaking co-founder of this company. Nish has, everyone has. And so it's okay. It's just how do we move forward from this? It's never making people feel bad over and over again. It's just like that's very, very toxic in my opinion. So there's that. And outside of the mistake piece, when you have respect and trust in your team members, it's a very like, how do I explain it? It's less hierarchical and more like everyone works together and everyone kind of respects that they're all going to serve their own function, So it's not that, oh yeah, I didn't do this because it's my like boss's responsibility or like whatever, It's like everyone's able to do everything and everyone's also able to help where they can. It's never also a thing where someone takes credit. You hear about in like corporate America, and this is just like my pet peeve, where the boss, the quote unquote boss, likes to take credit. That's just not how we operate. And in fact, it's almost the opposite, to the point where, we'll be in team meetings and I'll like call someone out being like, oh, you did a really good job with this. And then they'll be like, no, 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 but it wasn't just me. It was like me and XYZ. Like I couldn't have done it without them. And like that to me is such like great camaraderie. And that is exactly the kind of workplace that I wish I'd been able to be a part of when I was younger. And I'm so proud that we've been able to build that. But really, if you don't have respect and trust for each other, like you're not going to have that, right? And so making sure that we've built a team based on those values is really, really important. And so, we have taken, or we do take whenever we're hiring, a ton of time to hire the right people. And anytime we've made hires a little bit too quickly, we've always paid for it. We've always kind of been like, we've just learned over and over again that that's just not the way to do it. You have to take your time with building the team in the right way, making sure it's composed of the exact right people, and that it's much better to wait for the perfect person and hustle a little bit harder and do more work on your particular thing, or even like let go of projects and know that you can pick them up later when you have the manpower, then bring someone on and like rush the process and then they're just not right for the team. It is just, we are so protective about our team, and it's just, I think it makes us who we are. And then also we really deeply, Nish and I, care for our team, and we care about the human aspect of our team, right? So we are very, very good friends with our team. And people obviously have all kinds of different perspectives on this, where people are like, oh, you can't really be friends with your team as the founders. We actually very much disagree with that. People also say that like, oh, like a husband-wife couple may or may not work. It's worked for us. And so that kind of like family values has kind of like leaked onto how we operate with our team as well. So we're really good friends with everyone. They know that they can come to us for literally anything and everything. Like it's not just work related. If anyone on our team had a personal emergency, I know personally that they would be comfortable calling us because we would be there, and vice versa. I think like, if something went wrong, I would probably be most likely to call my EA, Mackenzie, who, not just because she's my EA, but because she's like one of my dearest friends, right? And so that's just how we've operated. And I really do think that it's led to people wanting to stay and work for Array for as long as they possibly can. And, we've had people, I mean, as I said, like our first hire is still with us. She's been with us for 5 years. Like that's insane, you guys. That's insane. And so, we really do hire, when we hire someone, rather, we think of them as in it for the long term. And we hope to foster a workplace that kind of keeps them in for the long run as well. And then the last point that I have here, guys, is enjoy your damn life. Okay. So look, I said this at the beginning. I never wanted to start a business to build it quickly, sacrifice my entire life and my happiness and my joy, and just give it over to this business that is like soul sucking just so I can make a bunch of money at the end and cash out in like 3 or 5 or whatever number of years. Okay. That was not the goal for me. So for me, it's not about a big exit or an outcome. I want to build this because I enjoy working on a business. And so my goal is to have a life that I enjoy. Like, to me, it's like this, when people are so obsessed with getting fit, right? The act of getting fit, and then they're miserable on a day-to-day, process because they just don't actually they're not actually enjoying the act of getting fit, right? It's like they're just in it for the goal. Like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. And on a day-to-day basis, like you're very miserable because, you're eating boiled chicken and broccoli or whatever people eat. And then you get to the goal and it's not sustainable. Like either you just you look in the mirror and you're just not as happy as you thought it would be once you got to this goal, and you feel kind of empty. And it's like that as well when it comes to building a business. I think I've spoken to so many entrepreneurs, so many on this podcast and outside of this podcast as well in my personal life. And so many people have this, identity crisis almost once they sell their business, because they were hoping that they sacrificed their life while they were building the business to sell it, and then they sold it, and it wasn't this like rush of happiness that they were expecting to feel. And my goal is that if I want to enjoy every single day of my life, then I need to do this sustainably. And that means that I need to be able to do the things that bring me joy on a day-to-day basis. So that means doing things like making sure I'm making time to work out, walking in the morning, calling my friends. Like, I had this realization, I would say like right before year two or year two of the business, actually. That's when so let me back up a little bit. So year two of the business, we were raising our first round of funding, actually our only round of funding. And we were so busy both running the business and raising money. And honestly, like we were like shells of ourselves, and we didn't have any time to work out, no time to cook, no time for anything. And the day that we closed our round, I had an accident where, I mean, a lot of you may already know this, but for new people, I fell off a bird scooter, and I literally fell and I was unconscious. So I obviously 911 had to be called. I had brain injuries, thankfully minor, and I was able to recover from everything. But when you have an instance like that, I remember waking up in the hospital where I was like, never again am I going to kind of say that I'm going to make room for the things in my life that lights me up after a certain goal is accomplished, right? And look, I know that a business goes through ebbs and flows, right? And obviously, I'm not going to plan a trip in the middle of a product launch, right? But what I mean is on a day-to-day basis, every single day, I will do something that brings me joy. And it's that joy is something as simple as waking up and going for a walk, making 10 minutes to journal, making sure I'm getting my workout in, simple things like that. And honestly, guys, there's like no excuse for putting off the joy, okay? Like, for me to say, oh, I'm going to call my friends when I'm less busy. Life isn't going to get less busy. That's the thing. Like, I've been in this for 5 years now, and I can't say that Array has gotten any less busy than it was on day one. All that's happened is my role as a founder has evolved, okay? So back in the day, maybe my day was filled with like physically, packaging up boxes for customers. And then it was answering customer service, okay? It doesn't look like that anymore. I have a team for that, but I still spend loads and loads of time working on the business. I'm now in meetings. I'm working on larger projects. I'm thinking of product launches like 2 years out, So there's always things that are going to take up your time. It's never going to get less busy. And so if you tell yourself that, oh, I'm going to make time for the fun, like 3 years later, 4 years later, like when it gets less busy, it's not going to get less busy. So you just have to find a way to enjoy your life through the chaos of building a business, because, that's like, why else are you doing it if you're not going to enjoy the journey? So, even for me, it's really important, even outside of the day-to-day things, to make sure that I'm going on trips, because when else am I going to do it? Like, I foresee myself building this for quite a long time, right? And like, I've been in it for 5 years. Imagine I told myself year one, I'm not going to go on a trip until I'm done building Array. What? Like, would I not have gone on a trip for how many years? Like 5 years? No, like I'm going to enjoy my life. And so making sure that I'm making time to do all of those things is really, really, really important, because I'm not going to get these years back, you guys. And so I want to enjoy it while I'm doing it. And so that's also doing things like, I've talked to you guys about this before, where Nish and I, no matter what, once a week, we will do date night. We'll do that because our relationship matters. And we want to make sure that we're catching up with each other and that we are kind of connecting, not just as co-founders, but as husband and wife as well. And we still have that spark and that joy and that excitement in our relationship. So making time to actually enjoy your life, whether that is through these like small non-negotiables on a day-to-day basis, which just bring you a lot of joy, or like trips, or, making time for your friends. These are the things that light you up. That's what life is about. It's not just about this like one thing that's occupying all your time, or at least I don't think it is. And, I know that like with me, my life and my business are so deeply intertwined that I kind of have to find a way to make both of them work. And honestly, like, again, kind of on a tangent, but like I have to say, like, if you have not yet found that balance, I think having examples of people who do have it and kind of exposing yourself to that is really important. I was lucky because I grew up with my dad who has a really, really big business, and he was always someone who was there for us for dinners. Okay. Like that's it. Like dinner time was family time growing up. And I saw my dad playing a sport my entire life outside of his business. So now it's golf. Before this, it was something else, but like he's always had something outside of just his business. And he's always told me that, like, you have to have an identity outside of just this. So it's always been really important to me to have interests and things outside of just my business because, if one day Array sells or, whatever, like we IPO and maybe I'm not in the same ownership position that I am today, I know that I have other things as well. So again, it's about intertwining your life and having that balance. I think it's really, really important. Like, don't get me wrong, you guys, I work really hard. But again, as I keep saying, it's about having those non-negotiables. It's about having those interests. It's about not isolating yourself so you don't have any friends while you're building this. I have all of those things. So, I'm really fulfilled in both my business and then my day-to-day life as well. And it's not like I'm waiting for this like big event to happen in order for me to enjoy life. So anyway, I hope that this episode has been helpful. And if you guys have more specific questions about any one of these topics, or even just more specific questions about building a business in general, I always love to know what they are because I obviously, I create my episodes, especially my solos, around things that you guys are interested in. So I wanted to do this one specifically because I get a lot of questions about this topic specifically. And so if you have more in-depth things that you want to know about, then let me know either in the review section or even just DM me. I always look. And thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you next week.